Hello everybody and welcome to Everyday Life. I had an issue with this car where the went to start it one day and it kind of hesitated when it first started. Then I was going down the road and all of a sudden it started kind of cutting out and everything. And so I pulled off the side of the road. It finally died, and then nothing. So my first instincts on this was that the alternator had or wasn't producing power. And the reason why I'm thinking that is once you lose your alternator, anything that requires electricity to operate the car, and this does have a throttle body in it. It has an electric fuel pump. So those things they start taking power from the battery, and so once it's used up all the battery life, then of course the battery dies, and then of course these things don't operate. So what I did was I recharged the battery, and right now I'm going to be doing a test to see if I can determine that if it's the alternator. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting the vehicle, and I'm going to put a voltmeter up to this and see if we're getting the proper volts coming in, from the alternator, and determine if that's the case. So we'll be back in just a minute, and we'll show you that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and attempt to start this. It should be at 12.6 is ideal. We're going to go ahead and try and start it at 12.45 is what's reading right now. Let me go ahead and try and get a better picture of this. Okay, so we're at 12.45. Okay, so go ahead and start it. Okay, so we've got the car running right now. It dropped to like 10, I think 10.58, something like that, which isn't too bad. However, what we're showing right now is only 12.23, and that tells me that the alternator is not charging the car. Before we can start disconnecting anything on the alternator, the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery, and once we've done that, we'll be back to show you how to remove the alternator. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need to do, and I don't know if you guys can see down in there very well, but there's a bolt right down in here. We're going to have to remove that bolt. We're going to have to remove this bolt here, and then there's another bolt over on this side, a little tiny one right down in here that's kind of hard to see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull these wires off of the alternator itself. We're going to disconnect this wire right here, and that should get the alternator out. So I'm going to start loosening those things up, and we'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, we got the alternator out. It 5-10 minutes at the most, to get this out. This bolt that was right here that I showed you to begin with was a 14 millimeter. This one back here on this bracket was a 17 millimeter, and then the one that was on the other side that we couldn't see real well was a 10 millimeter. Engineers for some reason always like to mix things up, but anyway, we got it out, and this is the alternator, and it does have an external regulator on it, and a lot of times and of course we have a helicopter going overhead, but a lot of times you can go ahead and replace the regulator, and that'll fix the problem. The big thing is just finding these. So I'm going to look and see if I can get a hold of one and try that out. I can always test it, just to see. But anyway, if I can't get that to work, I'll just take it in and have it rebuilt. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Everyday Life. It's time now to get this alternator installed. I had it rebuilt, and so we're going to take you through it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this alternator. I've already got it kind of sitting in here. We're going to take this regulator, and we're going to plug that in. Okay, so that's plugged in, and we're going to spin this thing around. And I hope everybody can see what I'm doing. It's kind of tough right now trying to get this thing set up. Okay, so we're going to take this bolt and we're going to stick that in the back here. Not a whole lot of room sometimes. Okay, so that bolt is through. Now, as you can see, this thing, you know, I can move this thing up and down, and that'll allow us to go ahead and put the belt on here in a short. There's a bracket that goes on the back side back here. Let me go ahead and put this one clip in. Bracket just goes right around here to the back, and that bolt that comes through the top right here just screws right into that. So we've got that started. Okay, so now what we can do, we can go ahead and put our belt on. At this point, we want to make sure that it is on every pulley. Okay, so that looks good. And then we're going to go ahead and put this bolt down in here that we're going to use to tighten this thing up. And we've got this other little bolt over here that we'll be putting in here in just a short. Okay, so we got the alternator in, and all the bolts are in. Everything's just kind of loose right now. And I just wanted to show you guys a little something on this particular car. This is a 1990 Ford Escort. And what's interesting about this is it has on this bracket that's right here that goes to the back, it fits back here. But on this bracket, there's a square notch, and what that allows you to do is put a wrench. It's a 1/2-inch drive, and it allows you to put a wrench there, and that's what you're going to use to tighten it. So as I push this wrench forward, as you can see, it moves the alternator up and down, and so that's what I'll be able to use to put leverage on this so that I can tighten the belt. Okay, so we got the belt tightened up, and I just want to show you, it's kind of hard to really see in here, but we're going to try our best. But what you always want to do when you're tightening up a belt, and of course some cars have serpentine belts, so they have tensioners on them, but this one does not. So when you're tightening a belt, you want to look for the longest point, the widest point between the two pulleys, and give it a push. About a 1/2 inch is pretty good. Okay, welcome back everybody. We got the car started and we're going to check out the voltage now. If you remember from earlier in the video, we had like a 12.2 charge. What we're looking for at this point is going to be somewhere between 13.4 and 15. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so as you can see, whoops, I got something in the way there. Okay, so as you can see, we got 14.72 right at the moment. So we're within that range. We are charging, and that's a good sign. Well, there you have it, everybody. A successful alternator change in our 1990 Ford Escort. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you have any questions, by all means, please be sure to write it in the comments. If you enjoyed what you saw, we hope that you like and subscribe to our channel. And until next time, thank you for joining us here on Everyday Life. Y'all take care.